Ready? Hi, everybody. Thank you for attending today's Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona information session. We'll get started in just a few seconds, 30 seconds or so, since we had a lot of people register for the event. I want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to connect and watch this outstanding information session. So please hang in there for just a few seconds. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much again for attending this information session today with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona. My name is Werner Petzold. I'm the Employer Outreach Specialist at the University of Arizona Global Campus. We're excited you could join us today and to learn about exciting career opportunities with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Before I turn the floor over to Liz, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. For all those who registered for today's information session, the recording will be emailed to you in a few days. We will take time to answer as many questions as possible during and at the end of the presentation. At the bottom of the screen is a Q&A button. You can submit questions with your name or anonymously to be answered live. We will do our best to get to as many questions as we can. However, if your question is not answered by the end of the presentation, you can email it to career services. That's both words mashed together. There's no dot or underscore or anything in between. So career services at uagc.edu. We will follow up with Blue Cross Blue Shield to get any remaining questions answered. Also, feel free to engage in the chat. You can pose questions in the chat, and members of the Career Services team will be available to help answer questions throughout the presentation. If you have any technical difficulties, we recommend to log out of Zoom and then log back in. Now I would like to introduce our guest employer. Joining us today is Liz Carrion, Talent Acquisition Manager at the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona. She has worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield for over 8 years. Liz leads a team dedicated to finding and attracting top talent who will help inspire health in the lives of Arizonans. She's passionate about creating a culture of diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and believes that when organizations embrace the strengths and differences of their people, they become even more innovative and engaging places to work. And the other thing I'd like to add is we had the pleasure of being with Liz. What was it? It was a year last year. It was the year before, right? You got your master's
Yeah.
from our university. So Liz is an alum of the University of
Yeah.
Arizona Global Campus. We are so thrilled to have her today because obviously she's been in your shoes, and we appreciate her being here to share all about Blue Cross and Blue Shield today. So Liz, we are excited to hear your presentation, and thank you for joining us today. Now I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me here. As
Our
Warner
pleasure.
said, it is definitely near and dear to my heart. Usually, my team, does these types of events, but I selfishly took this one because, again, I am an alumni, so it means a lot to be here. So thank you again for
Thank
that.
you, Liz.
I am going to share just a little bit of background about AZ Blue in case some of you aren't familiar with our organization. And then I do want to just hop onto our career page and share a few things with you there as well. All right. So our mission is to inspire health and make it easy, and we live that mission throughout the organization. For a talent acquisition perspective, how can me and my team make it easy for our candidates to view and apply to our jobs, going through the recruitment process? All of us really hold that mission to heart in everything we do. It's not just member facing, but ties into talent, it ties into our marketing team, finance, etc. We're always looking at ways that we can inspire health and make it easy. We do employ about 3,200 people throughout the state of Arizona. We do have a small base of employees that are outside of the state of Arizona, and that's really for our jobs that are hard to fill. For example, data analytics. Some of those skill sets are very niche and hard to find within the state of Arizona. So in cases like that, we will go out of state and and gain those resources to make sure our organization is set up for success. So we do have a small footprint outside of Arizona, but most of our roles are within the state of Arizona. You can see our values there, caring, accountable, collaborative, curious, and inclusive. This is new. So, Persona Health, you may not know that AZ Blue, we are a healthcare insurance provider, but we also do have a direct patient care arm. So, what that means is if you get sick, you typically would make an appointment for your doctor, go in and have a visit. While we offer that service now to our members, it's called Persona Health Solutions. And we have 10 locations now. Our last location in Goodyear opened in July. So, 10 locations throughout the valley to support our members. This is for only AZ Blue members, but it could be through individual, commercial, as an employee of AZ Blue, etc. You would have access to these Personal Health Solutions locations, which are very neat and pleasant to attend. But I mention this because that also means that we have direct patient care roles that we recruit for, like front desk, scheduling, medical assistants, physicians, nurse practitioners, anything that you can imagine needed to run a office for direct patient care. We have that care center managers, etc. So that's why I wanted to mention this because it just expands the type of roles that we recruit for. Some of the things I'm proud of working at the organization, I can't believe it's been 8 years. I really enjoy the work that I do and the people that I work with. And it's easy to get behind the mission of inspiring health and making it easy, especially when we do great community service, like some of the things I shared here. We do try to focus on three key areas, which are mental health, substance abuse disorder, and chronic health conditions such as diabetes. Um, as you can see, we had over 1,300 or 13,000 community service hours for 2025 so far. The year is not over yet. So we'll see what those numbers come up with. But in 2024, I believe we landed around 18,000 service hours. So it's exciting. It's nice that our organization gives us those hours to commit to the community and participate in things that are meaningful for us too. So personally, I like to participate in mental health community service areas because I have, individuals in my family that struggle with that area. So it's meaningful for me and I love participating in those. So I know everyone has a story in the organization and it's so awesome to hear those. You can see that we offer different free health screenings, heat relief, and then again, that diabetes prevention there that is very critical for the state of Arizona. Our diversity and inclusion, you can see our numbers here. I won't go through everyone in detail, but these are some of the areas I like to highlight just because we are top heavy on the women's side, which is rare for organizations, especially in leadership roles. So I like to call that out. And then, of course, calling out our veterans there as well, and just identifying the four different generations that we have within the organization today. And then these are all of our employee resource groups. It's really busy slide, but every resource group has their own logo, which is shown here. And hopefully this will continue to grow and really provide groups that our employees can connect with and look to for support in the organization as well. All right. And then some of the roles that we have, so being a health insurance provider, sometimes people may think that we're really looking for like medical directors or physicians, but we have a wide range of roles, just like every other organization out there. We have marketing, we have finance, we have human resources, facilities, every type of role that other organizations have. And then, like I said, those additional roles, like with Personal Health Solutions, having those direct patient care roles as well. We do have pharmacy tech positions. We do have the medical director roles, that help us ensure that we're reviewing claims or prior authorization. So it is a wide range of positions that we have available to the organization. I'm calling out a few here because those are active in recruitment or have been recently active in recruitment. And I'll share our career page that's listed here, the jobs.azblue.com, next as well. Let me stop sharing and then reshare. Bear with me.
Hi, Liz. While you're doing that, I just wanted to share with everybody. We really appreciate the fact that you mentioned all the different types of roles because being an alum, you understand all the types of degrees that we offer. So that was great. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, of course. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. This is our career page. It's the jobs.azblue.com page. This is the landing page here. I do want to call out, we do have a chat bot, so you could engage with the chat bot down here, input your information and go through the prompts and then be connected with the recruiter. Or you can ask questions like what are the hours worked, benefits questions, any type of question you might have. If our chatbot's not able to respond, again, you'll be connected with a live person to connect with and get your questions answered. You can also sign up through our chatbot for alerts and notifications when new jobs become available. So I always recommend that as well, because if you don't see something posted today that you're interested in, every day our jobs are changing. We get approvals every, day in and day out. And as soon as we get those approvals, we load them into our system and then they scrape to this career page here. So again, every day you could see a different job and those notifications would help you draw attention to those new opportunities to apply. So from this landing page, of course, you can find out information about our organization. You can see some of our employee videos, again, our values and our mission here. And then I also like to share the culture page, which will talk about kind of our diversity and initiatives. It talks about our veterans and our resource groups. There is also a link here where you can see and dive into more detail about our diversity, directors and above, and things like that, similar to the slide I shared before. And then you can also navigate to Why Work for Blue and find out more about our benefits. We do have, I call it a one pager, but it's actually a couple pages long, a quick snapshot of our benefits and what we have to offer. It doesn't go into great detail, but we'll tell you high level overview, what you can look for. So some of the things that I like to call out because it's different than other organizations. We do have an on-site gym that's complete with dietitians and fitness coaches to help you reach your fitness goals. Again, inspiring health and making it easy there. We have our lifestyle spending account that basically gives employees $500 annually, and you can use that towards gym shoes, your sit-stand desk, different things that are approved through that program, including food subscriptions like HelloFresh, things like that. So it's a really neat benefit there. And then, of course, we have the flexibility at work. So we are hybrid. Um, our employees that are within the state of Arizona are required to be in the office at least once a week. And then our managers, like myself, that lead teams, we're expected to be in the office at least twice a week. And again, I know we have some employees that are outside of the state of Arizona. They, of course, wouldn't have to adhere to that hybrid policy, but they would adhere to our standard business hours, which are Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 Arizona time. And then from here, you can also navigate to different career paths. and view all of our jobs. So you can do searches. During January, February, we typically have our internship roles posted, so you can search intern and see all of the different internships that we're offering that year. But this is where you would find any currently recruited position that is in active recruitment. At that time, you can click and then apply. Or if you know somebody, maybe you don't meet the requirements, but you know somebody else does, you can share this with somebody as well. But once you hit apply, then you'll go through our application. So it's fairly simple. That's really everything I had for you today. I know we might have some questions. I haven't been able to look at the chat there, but
We do.
good.
Thank you, Liz, for that amazing presentation. We absolutely appreciate it. Yeah, I got some questions here regarding all kinds of things. I want to start off with somebody's asking, is there anything specific that hiring managers like to see on resumes or cover letters?
Sure. So I know some students, depending on where you're at in your career and student as well, sometimes it's hard to translate student experience into like what we would call work-related experience. So I would definitely encourage you to use Google searching, ChatGPT or Copilot, things like that to kind of get ideas, if I'm a student and I'm managing my school schedule, how does, inputting, how does managing your school schedule translate to work-related experience and then seeing what generates from that and leveraging that in your resume. So that's one thing I would encourage you to do. But also seeing the different projects that you've worked on as a student and how that relates to the role, really tailoring your resume for that role, not having a generic resume that you're using for every type of job that you apply for. We want to see that you've taken time to really tailor that resume for our role specifically and how you meet those requirements.
Do
So I would
you
encourage that.
When you, and this of course goes back to when you got hired by Blue Cross Blue Shield, but do you recommend, I mean, we always coach obviously here in career services to the STAR method, situation, task, action, result. So as far as accomplishments, because I know a lot of people put down job responsibilities and then they list them and what have you. So speaking to your generic resume, things like that, do you like to see accomplishments on the resume?
Yeah, definitely. If you're in any special clubs or anything that you've done above and beyond, definitely calling that out because if you've gone above and beyond as a student or as an employee somewhere else, most likely you're going to go above and beyond for us too. So I think it is good to highlight that. Of course, I mentioned AI. That is a big thing for our organization, and I
Sure.
know for other organizations. So any experience or skills you might have in that, if you're using any AI services now as a student in your work, in your program of study, whatever that looks like, adding that to your list of skill sets, I think will help as well.
That's a great point, Liz. I didn't think about, we all are using AI, even at the university. Everybody is implementing AI now. So that's a great point. Being that that's the case, and it's kind of related, this question, what core skills and qualities do hiring managers look for in early career candidates?
Sure. So our early career candidates, I would say, the passion to learn and grow. And since my time being here, I've never seen anyone that has raised their hand and volunteered and been excited to just try things and get out of their comfort zone and learn and grow and explore different areas of the organization, not be promoted and grow within the organization too. So I know that's something that we value in our organization. And I know it's helped me personally grow in my role. I started as a temporary resource at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona. And then in my tenure, I've grown into being hired on full time as a recruiter to a lead role, and then now in my current position as a manager. But that's because I am eager and I'm passionate about the work that I'm doing. So just being able to share that passion with your leaders and in the organization, and just being open and willing to learn new things.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to
Yeah.
exactly ask you, how did you get started at Blue Cross Blue Shield? I'm sure everybody's like, well, how did she do
Yeah.
this? So do you mind if I ask you, Liz, were you doing that while you were attending college, or was that something you kind of thought about, or was Blue Cross Blue Shield like on your list of, I gotta work there? How did that work for you, please?
I did not wake up as a young Liz and say I need to work in health insurance. So it's definitely something I grew into. I actually wanted to be a sports physical therapist.
Oh, wow.
So definitely a career shift for me, but I got into HR after high school and I
Hmm.
just loved it, helping people with day-to-day things that they need. As you know, HR ties into payroll, it ties into benefits, leaves of
Sure.
absence. So you get to interact with employees at a different level, oftentimes in their time of need. So I really loved that type of work. And then I got into recruiting and I'm like, this is for me. This is my space. So I just expanded there. But I did try to go to school in my early career and then, life happens. I had kids and things like that got
Sure.
busy. So later on in life, I wanted to finish that degree and it did help me move within the organization as well because as a manager in my current role, the minimum requirement is a bachelor's degree. So I
Understood.
knew if I wanted to continue growing, not just in the organization, but potentially others organizations as well, that higher level education would most likely be required. So I did go to school in UAGC helped me just with that online opportunity and flexibility to manage my schedule. So that's not just a plug, but it did help me um, in my career path as well as working, full time.
And I love that you share that because I mean that obviously you already know the type of students that we have, and it absolutely applies to many of the students that are here right now and many that are going to receive this recording. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Mhm.
So regarding remote jobs, and this one's going to be a little bit more specific, but for cybersecurity, are they available? This one person is asking for availability in Texas. I realize you're talking about Arizona, but
Yeah. Texas is actually one of our what we call friendly states. They don't have a lot of employer regulations. So it's easy for us to set up in Texas. We actually do have majority of our out-of-state employees in Texas. Um, and especially because it's so close to Arizona as well. But so Texas is one of the states that we do currently employ and look to if we are going out of state.
got it. Well, that's a great thing because we have a lot of students that attend in state of Texas.
Yeah, nice.
California number one, but Texas is number two, so that's a really great thing. So, what advice would you give students applying for roles? I know you mentioned several of these things, and it's kind of tying together with this question. And I apologize if I'm kind of repeating it a little bit, but
Yeah.
when they're applying for roles with Blue Cross Blue Shield for the first time, what would you recommend?
Sure. So again, your resume is critical. I think there was a article out there that was published by Indeed that said recruiters are spending like 3 to 5 seconds looking at
Mm,
resumes.
yeah,
So imagine somebody looking at your resume for 3 to 5 seconds. How do they know you meet the requirements of the role? And that's kind of what ties back to what I said earlier about really tailoring your resume for that position. Because if I see a role requires a bachelor's degree and under education, you don't have anything listed, I'm moving on to the next person because it based on your resume, it looks like you don't meet the education requirements. So just things like that, really making sure that you're buttoning up your resume and tailoring it towards those job specific requirements.
on the same lines, that's a great segue into this other question that I just saw. Are there things candidates often leave or often leave out? Well, leave out of. What would you recommend to leave out of the applications that would help them stand out more?
Sure, of course, any protected information,
Of course.
I've seen resumes come through and they'll put like leave of absence, new mother or something like that.
Mm,
That's protected information. It's great to know, and I'm glad that person was able to take time off and be a mom. But from an employer perspective, we are more worried about your experience and how you can come into our organization and make an impact. Um, so on that same note, that individual could have tailored the resume and used that experience and changed it to how that could equate to work experience, right? So that's one thing. But I would say to definitely leave out any of that protected information. Um, One of the big things I see, especially on like the objective piece, is that
Mhm.
that's constantly not updated. So if you're not going to
Wow.
go in and update it, I would just leave the objective piece out of your resume and focus on your work-related experience, your school experience, and again, how those tie back to the requirements of the role.
For that, let's suppose, because you mentioned earlier about having children and then maybe potentially you're a mom and now you're becoming, you're juggling that and it becomes a full-time thing.
Mhm.
If you're having that break in between those roles where you have these skills, crazy question, but how would you label that portion if you were doing, let's say, I don't know, 8 months, 6 months, whatever you're doing as a mom? What would you recommend if during that break in your resume, or leave it out? Because then maybe the employer
Yeah.
here, Blue Cross Blue Shield, might say, well, why are they not including this information? What happened between these two jobs?
Yeah,
Do you
I
mind if I
would
ask
leave
that?
it. I would leave it out. I
Okay,
know that's probably a lot of people would have different opinions, but I would leave it out because as a recruiter, if I see that you're a strong candidate
right.
during during my conversation with you, I would
Ah,
ask about the gap of employment, and then that's an
absolutely.
opportunity for you to share that
Very
there.
good.
The other thing I would make sure that you are adding is if you're in a short term or contract role
Sure.
indicating that it is a contract role. Otherwise, it looks like you have a short tenure, and that's concerning for us, right? You were only there for
Absolutely.
3 to 6 months.
Job
Why?
hopping.
What
Absolutely.
happened?
Yep.
So if it's a contract role or short tenured role, internship, something like that, just flagging that on your resume too.
That's a great tip. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, as far as networking tips, what networking tips do you have for students to stand out in today's competitive job market? And of course, when they're applying for what you are looking for at Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah, I would encourage you. I know we're going to share my LinkedIn, things like that, but just taking every invitation you get to connect and network, even if it's on a social platform like LinkedIn. Because, like I said, even if we don't have a role for you right now, we may in the future, but also somebody that I know might have a role for you, right? I
Mm.
mean, of course, we would want you blue, but if we don't have something that fits your need right now, we want you to find what you need. So, just being able to leverage those relationships would be helpful for you overall in your career.
And we would like to share your hiring events. We do that through Handshake, but we can also post those through UAGC Connect and a bunch of other things throughout the year. So we're always happy to promote those hiring events in addition to the events that we have at the university, which of course
Yeah.
we're going to invite Blue Cross Blue Shield to throughout the year, and we're looking forward to that in 2026. So as far as here, I have some specific questions that are jumping in here, but I would say I'm trying to pick the ones that are applied to most of the students. Are
Yeah.
there any positions that you would be congruent? And this one's going to be for mental health, adolescents, adults, geriatrics, and skilled nursing rehab experience.
Yeah, I would say definitely our personnel position, so the direct patient care right now, and this could be part of the relationship networking, right? We currently use a vendor for behavioral health services, so that might be a
Okay.
good opportunity to connect this individual with that vendor.
Yeah.
Um, or if we end up, pulling those types of roles in-house, those opportunities would become available too. But also on the blue side, on the health insurance side, we do have behavioral health roles as well. So we call them integrated care managers, helping individuals navigate through maybe new diagnosis and things like that. So that's where those types of roles. So on both sides of the house, we would utilize that skill set. Um, and it's kind of hard, integrated care manager, you may not flag that as behavioral. So it's good, if you have questions when you're looking on our career page, again, you could interact with the chatbot or you'll have my information here at the end of the conversation. Reach out to me directly and I'll be happy to help answer those questions.
That's really, thank you so much for doing that. We absolutely appreciate you on that. I have somebody here who's asking about healthcare administration and is the organization a great starting place to gain experience? But I think one of the follow-on or a similar question that would be just like you mentioned earlier, when you started your career at Blue Cross Blue Shield and then you went into recruiting and discovered that this was for you, when you do have other jobs because this person has healthcare administration, how is it easy, or are you identified as a potential candidate because you've worked there now for a year or what have you, 2 years, and then now you want to go into this role? How does that all that work? And if you could just kind of briefly discuss that and see what, how opportunities you can move around, those type of
Yeah.
things.
I think sometimes it's hard, right? Because, like, for my journey, I was working and going to school, and then I got my degree, which fell in line, with where I was at and where I was going.
Absolutely.
But some people are getting a degree that is a totally different career change
Exactly.
for them. So
Yeah.
being open, and taking advantage of maybe entry level positions, just knowing that it's a just short time stint, right? That you would be into this more entry level role, because I do understand it could have an impact on compensation and things like that too. But sometimes we have to take a step back to move forward in that line of work that you're looking for. Um, so I would encourage you to be open to things like that. So coming in entry level to our organization, 70% of our roles are filled internally. So once you're in, it's like the door's open to you. You can apply as an internal. Um, we give
That's great.
priority to our internals. And then once your leader knows, like, hey, Liz wants to go into health administration, how can we
Sure.
get her there, and working on your development plans and your goals and things like that. We really do that within our organization. So you'll hear stories like mine throughout the organization. My VP of Human Resources started as an intern 26 years ago.
Oh,
She's
wow.
now VP of Human Resources.
Oh,
One
wow.
of our HR business partners started in customer service on the phones, and he's now HR business partner for the organization. So I'm talking about HR people because those are my people. I know their stories, but you'll hear those stories across the organization.
I'm not surprised that when I worked at AT&T as an area manager, many of the conventions that we went to for the managers, they would say, "Oh yeah, I was here installing all these lines here in Anaheim when we were in Disneyland." Is like, and
Mhm.
now he's the VP, senior VP of operations for installations. And yeah, that's not surprising. That's really great that Blue Cross Blue Shield offers all those amazing opportunities, and absolutely. So I know we appreciate your time, but I just want to go through just a few more here. On kind of some of these are going to be kind of specific, so I'm going to try and pick the ones that are applicable to most students. One of these ones here was, and as it's moved up, is how many years of work experience do you want to see in a resume, and what's the max?
Of work experience in a resume?
They just said it in general terms.
Okay. So I think being going back at least 3 employers is important. But I will say if you need to go back further to show that you meet the requirements of the role, then definitely do that. But again, keeping in mind if a recruiter is looking at your resume for 3 to 5 seconds, we're most likely not getting to page 6 and 7,
Understood.
so making sure your resume is really tightened up and shares the important aspects that's related to the role you're applying for. But I think a general rule of thumb is at least 3 employers back. But again, including more if you need to show that you meet the requirements of the role.
And this also relates back to when you started at Blue Cross Blue Shield. This one person was asking about, she was asking, did you state that putting the education requirement, there's a degree if we are in progress but don't have it yet? So how does that work with students that fall in that category where maybe they're juniors right now, maybe they have 2 years left, a year left? How does all that work when you're seeking work at Blue Cross Blue Shield, please?
Yeah, I would definitely include your expected graduation date on there if you haven't completed that degree quite yet. Because sometimes, depending on if, I mean, for example, if you're graduating this month, we're a few weeks away from that. Most likely by
Understood.
the time we extend an offer and you start with us, you're going to meet that requirement. So
Yeah.
definitely calling that out for our internships. We're recruiting in January for June. So there's that time gap there too. If you're showing that you have your expected date, we can connect the dots there and see how you meet.
Sounds good. And then this one actually applies to a lot, Liz, because at our university, a lot of people do go into organizational business degree, and what have you. So this person, William, was saying that I have an organizational business degree, but I don't have experience in the field. How would I go about finding a job in that role at Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Yeah. I think just keeping an eye on our career page. We do have our entry level positions, like I mentioned. But if you have questions when you're looking at those requirements, because it'll be clear in the requirements if it's, you know, if they're not listing any work experience, but the degree is required, then you can kind of tell that it's entry level. It won't have entry in the job title for you, but you'll
Right.
really have to look at those requirements, or you may see like level one, that would be entry level within our job description. But like I said, if you have any questions when you're looking at our postings or job descriptions and you're not sure, you can always reach out to me directly through the chat bot and connect with a recruiter and ask your questions, and we'll make sure to help you.
Very good. I absolutely appreciate that. And of course, all of our students and alumni appreciate that. I'm going to ask you one other question because I know we talked about behavior, those type of degrees and earlier. But I have this one person, Cecilia, who's asking if I have a degree in psychology in March, will I qualify?
Yeah, I would say if it's open, I would apply. Psychology is probably one of the harder to fill roles for us. So, like I said, by the time we get to an offer stage, for the right candidate, we might extend an offer after your degree's completed, so we know you meet the requirements and we're fine waiting for you. That's not uncommon for us. So I would definitely include that. And if you see anything, I think now is a good time to start applying for sure.
Well, Liz, we are so appreciative of your time. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation, answering all those questions and then offering your assistance via LinkedIn. So I just want to let everybody know if you want to connect with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona and other organizations that are actively hiring, please log in to Handshake through your student portal. We recommend checking Handshake, UAGC Connect, and your email regularly for more career services events. Reminder, you'll receive a follow-up email with a link to this recording and information about careers at Blue Cross Blue Shield. If you have any questions for the career services team on your resume, cover letter, and job search, please email career services, it's all both words mashed together, at uagc.edu or log in to Handshake through your student portal to explore more resources. Before you leave, please take a moment to complete a brief confidential survey that will appear when this session finishes. Your feedback helps us in improving and planning future events, and obviously the ones coming up in 2026. Many thanks again to Liz at Blue Cross Blue Shield Arizona for joining us today, and many thanks to you, our students and graduates, for attending UAGC. We absolutely wouldn't be here without you. And thank you for attending this event. We look forward to seeing you at more career services hosted events in 2026. And happy holidays to everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks, Liz.
Bye.
Everybody take care. Bye-bye.